So when you call me, like a narcissistic slob, I think what you're trying to say is you want me to pay more attention to you.
With people who have, say, I don't know, some more narcissistic issues, for example, where apologies and repair are very, very difficult for them. And that may mirror some of the dynamics of an abusive family as well.
Yeah.
How do you work with that? How would you suggest an individual who finds their partner is not really willing to participate a lot in repair?
Yeah. Just yesterday, my wife and I took a walk in the woods near our house where there's no people. And we talked about this for like an hour and a half without a great solution, I will add to it. Because I think teaching this stuff is all very nice if you have two people that want to participate. And if you have a partner that doesn't want to participate or isn't particularly psychologically minded, and thinks this is just garbage, why are you wasting your time with that? Then it puts you in a difficult place. I think the more you can, there are a couple of things that I think are helpful. One is that the more that you can talk about what you need, like it's very important to me to know that you understand how much that hurt me, and I'd like to be able to tell this to you. And if I do things that hurt you, I want to hear from you also, and I want to hear how it impacted you. Not so much that I want to hear about how bad I am or how messed up I am, but I want to know how it's affected you. And so I'm appealing to you to, if you do something that hurt me, I know that it's hard to say, oh yeah, I did it. The more you can do it, the better. I would appreciate it. And even if it's a hand conversation rather than a verbal conversation, or you can kind of come to me, that would be helpful for me. It'd be helpful for us. And I don't want to rub your nose in it. I think you've had too much of that in your life. And I don't want to be one more person who does that. But it just would help soothe my heart. And, even if I'm sorry may not be your favorite words, but, even if I just want to know that you care, that I'm feeling bad. I have a client like that now. Nobody ever apologizes in his family, and he was criticized severely. So, admitting that he's wrong is very hard for him. And we practice it, and I mean, he's willing to come to therapy, so he's ahead of it. But, we actually practice it in therapy in ways that would feel okay to him, to admit his part in things and to offer some kind of regret. And often it's just the kind where he's, he might say, yeah, I don't want you to feel bad. I care that you feel bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm inclined to want to protect myself here because it feels bad to admit that I did something messed up, but I also do care. So I think they're in between places where you can get some of it, but sometimes people just don't want to do it. And then you have to decide, is this somebody I want to be with? Is this tolerable? And to not treat them like a bad person. It's just, there's a disability that they have, to extend compassion to that.
Right. Because a lot of us have the tendency, if we're not getting what we want, to blame the other person and make them bad.
Yeah.
You're not being a good spouse because you're not agreeing with me or something like that.
Right.
And you're modeling here an idea about sort of a very blameless approach.
Yes. I think so, yeah.
Right. I think it's great to do. I also know that it can be challenging for folks because people can't sometimes resist putting in that little dig.
Yeah. Well, as you said it, you smiled, and I smiled as well. And so there's something, I do a whole course called The Benefits of Blame. Like, as therapists, it's very easy to sit there and pontificate about how clients should make I statements and, not blame each other and be vulnerable, the power of vulnerability. So it's really easy to talk about it, and you get into a fight, and all the part of you that knows that that's a good idea is flooded away with your your blood flow literally going to your amygdala and your reptilian brain. And so as much as you know that, and I think a lot of couples therapists are like humbled by this, you know, there's something that is very magnetic about it. Part of it is physiological, part of it's psychological too. There are certain benefits to blaming. And so to pretend that there aren't benefits is a problem. So I'll do experiments with people. I'll say, okay, so right now you're blaming her for that. So once you make one sentence of blame, and then another sentence that's more kind of personal about how things are affecting you and what you need. And let's compare and contrast on both sides. What do you like and dislike about each one? And listener, what do you like and dislike about each one? And then we'll compare and contrast, and it gives immediate feedback. And usually, the partner responds so well to a non-blaming, self-disclosive statement that is reinforcing. And two is people can see, oh yeah, when I blame her, I feel like a sense of power, or I feel like I'm right and she's wrong, and I'm the good one. And finally, I'm the good one. I've never been the good one. Now I can be the good one. Or if I blame her enough, then she'll say, yes, honey, you're absolutely right. I was at fault here. I'll never do it again. Now that you pointed it out to me, I will never do it again. Of course, it doesn't work that way, but that's the hope, that they'll finally agree, and that because of the forcefulness of the blame. And there's also revenge in it, and so there's a lot in blame. So I think it's important to look at how magnetic blame is, for all of us. That it's a no-brainer. I'll just go blame the bad guys, and I know who the bad guys is. It's everybody but me. And so, and in the relationship, that's the bad guy. It's always the other person. So I think looking at the benefits of blame, and then it's a practice. Like nonviolent communication is great. I love it. And it's really hard to do when you're upset. And if you do blame somebody, then you go back, an hour later and say, I was really blaming you, wasn't I? Let me try redoing it. So I think you can fix it after the fact. I try to avoid it. Blame is the flip side of the coin of a need and a feeling generally. So the conversion rate, I think if I could have like a blame app, blame app, then it would convert every single blame into something that's self-disclosive. Like if I'm saying, you just never pay attention to me or the family. All you ever do is watch these workshops on the web. That's all you ever do. So how do you convert that to a different kind of statement? So you need the conversion. So I feel lonely. I'm longing to be connected with you. I want to convince you to pay more attention to me. And so my need is to be more connected. And my feeling is lonely. So, they punch in, you watch too much TV, and then it would convert it into a self-disclosive statement. So there is that, again, that's a practice. Like how do you, and as a listener, if somebody's blaming you, this is really even more important than what I just said. As a listener, you want to be able to reflect back to them their need and their value and their feeling here. So when you call me, like a narcissistic slob, I think what you're trying to say is you want me to pay more attention to you and that you're lonely. And so that you can also do a conversion as a listener, so you're not powerless as a listener. A lot of people feel powerless as a listener. They just have to defend themselves. But if you can do the conversion with the blame app, then you can save yourself some trouble.
Right. And part of this is also because you were talking about before, when we get ashamed or angry, we're in a state. We're very dysregulated.
Yeah.
Part of what you're talking about is to use some practices. This is where mindfulness might come in, or self-compassion, as a way of lowering arousal so that I'm more capable of responding to you than from other parts of my brain versus my reptilian brain, which is only going to want to win the fight. It's not going to want to have connection.
Right. Yes. Right. Precisely.